Hello everyone, good afternoon to all. Can you hear me? Am I audible? Awesome, thank you guys. Okay. Hi everyone, I'm Anubhav Pareek and I'm a data engineer with AICG Consulting. And today, as part of the session, we would basically be presenting a case study where AICG collaborated with Prime Therapeutics on a project where we're trying to showcase how DBT was instrumental in solving some of the Prime's problems around data. And having said that, I would like to welcome the team from Prime. We've got Jill, we've got Jessica, we've got Carl. A big welcome to all. And having said that, I would let Jill take us forward.
Hi, I'm Jill Aakhus, and started at Prime about a year and a half ago. And right when this project was starting, the IT department had created a new data warehouse, and so our team was created to kind of be the bridge between IT and the business. We also have my boss, Carl, here, so if you say anything about me, try to make it good, even if you're lying. We got Jessica. She also was a key player on this team, and we partnered with Anubhav to help really convert a lot of our old stored procedures and SQL code into DBT. And Carl, Jessica, and I had all used DBT at previous companies, so we pushed really hard and fought really hard for Prime to purchase it for this project. So.
Awesome, thank you, Jill. So maybe, Jill, you could kind of start by telling us what is Prime and what does Prime do?
Sure. I asked that actually when I interviewed. They're like, Prime Therapeutics is a pharmacy, see, I'm going to get it wrong, PBM. And my next question was, what is that? So basically, we're the in-between between when you go fill a prescription between the pharmacy and the drug manufacturers. So we process those claims, work out pricing tiers for different places. I always say I work with the data side. I rarely know what our companies do, but I've learned a lot about pharmacy data. It's very different. I've always worked more retail manufacturing, so it's been a big learning curve, but very interesting. Provided a few extra challenges we'll talk about in a little bit. Prime also last year purchased Magellan. So besides a brand new data warehouse, we're trying to use the data. We're also merging with another company. So obviously we've had a lot of data challenges.
Sounds good. Maybe if you go to the next slide is where we've got the good-looking slide. Maybe if you can walk us through the slide and the challenges
Sure.
that you're facing at Prime.
So this is basically what our clients had to work with before this project started. So you could see it's a mess. And there are lots of different reports they got, but it was all different ways. Some were emailed, some you went to a website, some we might have dropped files. You had to go lots of different places to get all the data. So that was very challenging. And also, it was very siloed. Everyone in the company was doing their own thing, so data wasn't consistent. One person would make a report for a client, and someone else might do it for another client. They didn't always have the same numbers or the same definitions. So it was definitely a challenge. So that was where we started. Oops.
Yeah. So I think what's important is that even though Jill has talked about the problems that they faced from a lens of Prime Therapeutics, but we believe that the problems that we encounter, we'll talk about in these slides, are agnostic to any industry. So maybe Jill, I think you could probably tell us more about, especially around data inconsistencies, around the lack of reporting and so on, and what was really happening there.
Yep. And kind of to summarize that last slide, the raw data, we get pharmacy data, obviously, from a reporting system, but our company is actually owned by a lot of Blue Cross Blue Shield insurance companies. So because of that, they'll also send the medical data. So we are trying to integrate the pharmacy data with the medical data, which not all pharmacy companies can do. But because of that, we had a lot of data coming from different places. That medical data is not consistent, so that was a mess. Like we said, everyone was working in their their own siloed worlds, and then again, no place to go to get all your answers. You had to do everything. And what happened was our company does surveys with our clients every year, and the reporting and data ended up being about the lowest scores on our surveys. So the company realized we really had to do something to satisfy our clients and get them consistent data, get it faster, get it accurate. So that's how this started.
So that's a lot of problems, right? but Jill, if you had to even talk about problems manifesting on a day-to-day process, right? For example, what challenges were you facing on a day-to-day basis? Maybe if you could just distill it down to that level.
Yep. I forgot to mention on this one, that mountain there, that's what we're continually feeling like we're climbing mountains all the time. So we realized this was bigger than just data. This was bigger than DBT wasn't going to be able to solve all these problems. We really had to go back to the beginning and really start over. Like I said, our team was developed new for this to be that buffer. And IT had made our first data warehouse, which had some challenges with it. Wasn't pristine, so we got to kind of feel that pain. But we really had to go back and say, we got to start over. What are our processes? How are we going to fix this? What are we going to do? And our company invested a lot and said, we're going to have, we need to have governance boards. We need to really get consistency, get accuracy. So the first thing they created was a reporting governance board that's made up of higher level management, and obviously converting a system. We were in SAS and Teradata going to Google BigQuery. There was a lot to convert, so we had to decide what needed to be converted. Obviously, there was some things that we didn't need anymore, so it was determined if it was needed. If it was needed, they prioritized that for us. Once it was determined which reports were going to be converted, we had an analytics governance board, which is made up of our subject matter experts. They really had to compromise and work together to come up with standard definitions and calculations. We had, things like a membership count. Different people were doing it differently, and people would fight for their way. Sometimes we needed both variations, but then we had to come up with what name was accurate for each, so we really knew what was happening. Once the analytics governance board approved metrics and definitions, it came to our team, and we were the development governance board. So there we did standardization of names, so it's more like, what table is this going in? Is this metric going to go on the reporting table or all the way back to a dimension so other people can use it? What are our naming standards? So that was our piece. And then finally, there's a branding governance board. That is our data visualization team. And they standardize colors, fonts. Any visualization we make now needs to look consistent. So use the same labels, use the same color. So we really started over at the beginning, and it sounds crazy. I'm like, how long is this company in business, and how do we not know a definition for this? But everyone was doing their own thing. So sounds easy, but it was quite a challenge. And then, like I said, we had all used DBT before. Again, it was a big fight to get it, but Carl persevered and won. And it really helped us then, because obviously it sped up the process to get all these conversions done, and we really needed to take advantage of the macros, the testing, and working with medical data, a lot of security issues. So now we have a reporting data warehouse, and we're making one portal for our clients to go to for everything.
Absolutely, Jill. And in fact, I like the slide because even though we'll talk about how good DBT is in solving some of the data challenges, but this slide focuses on the fact that you have to lay some form of foundation around the data culture on your team. DBT in itself will not do everything that it needs to do to solve the problems, but a strong data foundation, a data culture foundation would enhance the experience that you can get from your DBT implementation. So, Jill, you spoke about governance boards, you spoke about process adjustments, you spoke about data warehouse, but I think, how did DBT help you in the entire scenario in this situation?
Okay, so obviously we wouldn't probably have gotten where we were without it, but it really helped with our sources. Majority of our data now is coming from Google BigQuery. We still do have a few other sources, like we said, a lot of cross-reference tables, a lot of people on the data science team like creating data, but we're really trying to get all of it from BigQuery as much as we can. Obviously, the transformations, being able to do those and automate them and run our jobs, and then really giving that ownership to our business, and so working with them, and they can come to us and really understand. We can understand better what we need and get things done faster. So.
Yes, I think now we probably go on each of the technical challenges that we encountered with DBT. DBT our hero, is that right?
What?
DBT our hero?
Yeah. So, like I said, we had a lot of challenges, and we originally had this slide titled like DBT/implementation challenges, and when we presented this to DBT, they were like, none of these challenges seemed like they were DBT. And I'm like, no, they weren't. DBT helped us with them. So they're like, maybe take that, reword that a little bit. So our biggest challenges, like I said, they were our own internal problems. So one of the first, some of these are a little embarrassing to admit. So we have a lot of data. So our pharmacy claims we want to load 7 years of data. It's about 7 billion records. That new data warehouse I talked about, and I said they didn't get everything right, IT won't give us load dates, so we can't do any incremental loads. So every day, we rebuild our 7 billion record tables. Takes a little while. I mean, Google BigQuery is great, but still took a while. So to load that 7 years of data was taking us about 7 hours, and that was one table. So we had to figure out, how are we going to do this? We really can't wait this long. So we came up with kind of a workaround. What we did before Google BigQuery, before DBT, we would have stored procedures, and we would run like the 7 years, like all at the same time, run year 1, year 2, year 3. So that didn't really work in models because we didn't want to have 7 models that this pharmacy table is bringing in those 7 billion records, joining to 17 other tables, and we have 100 calculated fields in that table. So we didn't want to maintain that code 7 times. So what we did was we created a macro that has the code, and then we have 7 models that just have a date parameter, so it runs year 1, 2, 3. And then in our job, we have 8 threads, so it can run all 7 years. So now it loads in an hour, and much, much better. So definitely use DBT there as a workaround. And then, like I said, we had to do a lot of testing. Another one of those little challenges with our data warehouse. I don't know how they did this, but we have a lot of fact tables with foreign keys that don't exist in our dimensions. So it's a bit of a problem. So we also, since they're not using load dates, somehow they get a lot of duplicates in their data. So it was really critical for us for testing because, like I said, our data loads will run for hours, and there's nothing worse than you wait 4 hours for your data load and get done, and you have duplicates in your data that was from the source. So we now, IT, we've worked with them a lot. They have put some tests on their tables, and we had some duplicates a few weeks ago, and we're like, I thought you were testing. They go, oh, we are, but it's like, we're not doing it. We're running them, but we're not doing anything with it if we get duplicates. So anyway, we now, on our stage tables, as we are using those, we are checking everywhere for duplicates. We are doing workarounds for our keys without corresponding records. And we did take advantage of the generic tests, which I had not used that before. Anubhav actually started that, and I'm like, well, this is crazy. Like, why do I have one test? But it really is nice that you can put the parameters in the YAML file, and you don't have to write a test for every model. You write one generic one, and do you want to do a uniqueness? Do you want to do a check sums? Do you want to do a count? And you just put in like what tables you want to compare, what fields you want to compare. So that has really helped. Obviously, we need some singular test for certain things, but the DBT generic test has been very beneficial for us. Again, we talked about the macros with the parallel execution. We're also really using those macros for our security. We have to both put on PHI tags for, classify or PHI data that DBT has a function we can do right in the YAML file, so that's taken care of. The way our company was doing security when we started this project, when you build a table, you contact IT and say, we have a new table, we need security put on it. And they would run a script that would go pull out like 190 row access policies and run it. Well, it didn't really work for us. We want to run our data loads in the middle of the night. We can't do incremental loads, so we're dropping and rebuilding our table, so therefore all the security went away. And so it didn't really work to wait 4 hours and then call security when they got to work in the morning and say, can you go put security on this table? You can't have it sit out there. So sounds really easy now. It was probably about a 4-week fight with security and IT. DBT was given, well, our service account was given permission. We now go find that table that holds all of those row access policies. We have a macro that will run through them. So if a new client comes on or a new group, it automatically is in there. And then we have a post hook on any of our models that obviously need security applied. And that post hook runs, so right as that table is created, all those row access policies are applied at that time. So those were some of our bigger challenges.
Jill, I love the fact that whenever you say duplicate, you look at me. So
Sorry.
Okay.
I'm just trying not to look at Carl. No.
But having said that, I think Jill has explained very well in detail. But the few elements that I just wanted to focus on is on the fact on the parallel execution in DBT. I think people with experience in DBT would be aware of the fact of the DBT DAG, where it runs all the models based on the tag that's created. And I think it works wonderfully fine when you try to do sequential loads and your models are clearly defined. But for our scenario, as Jill explained, we had a lot of data to be loaded incrementally and loaded on a daily basis. We had to kind of create layers in the DAG to make sure that we could somehow simulate a parallel execution for our DBT. And that was an interesting, I guess, experience, but I'm glad we could make that to work. And just wrapping up, saying that given the industry nature of the data, where there's so much focus on the PHI data, it was really nice and helpful, right, Jill, that when the data loads, those policies were automatically implemented on the data without having to go manually and then check for them every time. So I think that's where it kind of made the manual task of loading kind of automate a lot of areas in the ETL chain, and that's where you would say DBT brought out the most value for the firm.
And one thing that actually is not on here, because we just did this since we made these slides, we really took another step back, and for our jobs, before we were like, okay, we want these jobs to run every day, we kind of went through a process and added tags on all of our models, and that's so that here's what we want to run daily, here's what we want to run weekly, here's what we want to run on the 1st and the 15th. So by adding those tags has really helped us. We don't have to go in and list all the steps in our jobs. Our jobs are very simple. It's just, DBT run with the tag name, and then, you need your medical data. We usually only load once a week, but if you're doing work, we can just run that now easily. So that's another big advantage we've used of DBTs.
So Jill, DBT made the engineering team, that is you and Jessica, happy. But what did DBT do to help the business and make Carl happy?
Well, not that makes Carl happy. Well, so obviously, we have more consistent reporting. The data, like I said, having that those governance boards really, really help. That we're flowing metrics all the way through. We're really trying hard not to put them on our facts at all. We want, well, like I said, we have these big, the pharmacy table that joins the 17 tables with those 100 calculations. We have our main core tables. Pharmacy, we're doing all the joins, we're doing all these metrics for you. If there's something like a drug name, we want that in the dimension. So no matter what reporting table you have at the end, they're the same. And Some people insist we change names by our reporting table so that matches their Tableau or whatever they currently were using, but we're really fighting back and saying, let's get this all the way through. So membership count now, no matter who is doing it, is calculated the same way. We have had very, very positive feedback from our clients. They're getting work done faster. You know, they come to us and request something that used to be months before they could get a new report or new data. We're sometimes getting those out in a week or days. And then we've been working, our department is, you know, we're the data side, and we also have the data visualization team. They have created a new web portal that our clients only go to one place. Everything is there. Some is Tableau links, some is like a web development widgets, but really standardizing what it is. It looks the same. It is, you know, one place. So it's definitely had a very positive impact on us. Like I said, the fact that we have the pharmacy and medical data is really good. The goal this year is now to take this data and start using it to help our clients for what they can do to save money, do something better, to really get a lot more of the analysis in there.
Absolutely. I think this is probably where we want to kind of sum up the entire presentation and kind of lay the foundation that, again, I think we spoke about the fact that DBT has to works great with a DBT foundation of a data culture. And I think more importantly, it also lets you create kind of, I mean, it gives you documentation as you generate the model. So I think in addition to what Jill explained around the value of consistent reporting and the feedback, but the fact that you can generate documentation easily and quickly once you update your model also really helped the team to kind of get a view on what is deep down there in the model. So not everyone has to go and open the code and see what code is kept in what model. You have a documentation explaining the keys, explaining the consistencies, and it becomes much easier to explain to people from business and saves a lot of time.
Yep. And then just, yeah, basically this is where we started with this mess. And what we really have now is this one clean, unified looking place for all of our data. And here we are. We've climbed our mountains. We're tired. We're beat. We're not defeated. But I don't know. Carol, is there anything I missed that you want to say? Any questions? Carl can talk he can fill in. No, I'm kidding. Any questions? Someone please ask. No, I'm kidding. Otherwise, that's it. Okay.
Yeah, I'm curious, you know, it sounds like you're offering these dashboards and insights almost in a productized way.
Yep.
And so what do you have in terms of ensuring that the quality of the data is good and letting your end users know, like, hey, the pipeline's down for whatever reason, highlighting that information?
A lot of the tests that are built in, like, so, you know, here's our source data. So we will take our reporting tables. Do we have, like, are the sums for a client for, you know, are they the same? So we know we didn't duplicate any records or drop them. We have a lot of those in. Count checks can't always do because usually our reporting tables are aggregated. Like I said, we're running all the pharmacy data daily. So, I mean, we're getting, you know, we have emails to ourselves if the load was successful or not. But for our clients, for how they know it's accurate, I guess they have to trust us. I don't know. I mean, we don't, do you?
The dash, we got, before there's also, before the dashboard is actually sent out, there's also additional verifications on the dashboard too, before it's released to the clients. So that way we can see like what it was last week or last month. If it's within a certain percentage, you're good. And if it's not, it doesn't get released until we figure out what was going on with the data. So there's lots of built-in checks because it is sensitive data.
Yeah, we do have our subject matter experts. So we release the dashboard to our stage environment. Like we reload everything in stage, and they have a version of that dashboard. And so they have a week before the dashboard to our clients. We're only updating monthly. And so we run that a week ahead of time. And then our subject matter experts are reviewing all the data, checking it for, because I probably wouldn't notice if something was wrong as well as they do. So they review it, like Jessica said, they compare it to the previous month, does anything look off, and then once they say it, then we rerun in production the first of the month. Yep. Yes?
I really appreciated the concept of govern metrics, and I wonder if you could talk a little bit more around some of the processes you use to gain alignment on building govern metrics, maybe some of the challenges you encountered. Certainly something that as we implement DBT and more standardized internal reporting, that we are coming up with, like, how many customers do we have? And everyone has a different definition of what a customer is.
Well, as much as I'd like to say, it's easy with these governance boards. Like I said, we have some subject matter experts that are kind of getting to make the decisions, but trust me, there's been a lot of redo. So they will approve something, we'll build it, and then another group uses it like, hey, wait a minute, that doesn't meet our needs. And then they have to meet with the governance. So the governance boards meet every week. And so they will be on the agenda for the next week, and then they kind of have to, and sometimes some have to compromise. Like I said, sometimes you then come up with a new metric. So it might not be consumer sales, it might be, or customers, it might be active customers or billing customers, I mean, something like that. So trust me, there's been some metrics that have been redone about 4 times now. So it's not all as blissful as it sounds, but it's basically compromise. And the more people that are using the data then are like, well, what was that definition? And we do have them all posted, and we can show them what the definitions are, how it was done. But yeah, it's hard to get everyone to agree.
But you really found that having those governance boards to be really, really, really useful?
Yes, it's been huge.
Yeah, well, I'll just add to that a little bit. So we had kind of the business folks there, but we also had very technical data scientists, and some of us represent those teams. So it's really a good mix. Yeah, and 100%, we were chaos. I mean, we were literally chaos. So, like, again, DBT's been great, but our whole year was a challenge of changing the culture. I mean, that's literally what we accomplished. Yeah, we did reports. Okay, whatever. We changed the culture. But that enables us now for this next year, where, like, people maybe don't cover pharmaceuticals, but, there's always those studies, right? Most of the expenses in healthcare are the last 6 months of a person's life, right? Pharmaceuticals is pretty similar. Like all the diabetes and people using for weight loss, that's a big thing right now, right? GLP-1s, they call them. We have gene therapy coming up, right? There's all kinds of cool things. That's what we want to start focusing on past this. So anyway, good question.
And we did, we've even modified our governance boards a little bit. So we now have one of our developers in the analytics governance board, because they would come up with things and what we were going to do and come to us to do them. We're like, well, that's not going to work. So we are kind of overlapping. It's not straight one for one. We're learning as we go. And like, not only data scientists are on that team, but also some of our pharmacists that really understand this data and understand what it means and how we should be looking at it. So, yeah.
Along the culture lines, why was thou shalt use full loads when implementing?
Well, I don't know. We don't understand it. IT is reloading their tables every day. Not how we would have done it.
We haven't taken over IT yet. So we are.
But he keeps threatening, and we keep going, no, no, no.
I will, yeah. That's my attempt. That's what I want to do. We are on the business side, so we report to the chief analytic officer versus the chief data officer. But yeah, there's a lot of inefficiencies, and that's been my partnership with them and working with them. There's a lot of shift. I mean, this is an old company, right? With $30 billion, old, stagnant company. A lot of shift of culture has to happen there too. So
Yeah,
it's
we've got a-
painful.
Yep.
What initiated the creation of like the DOP changes, SOP changes in the process, as well as the creation of the governance boards? Was that a top-down decision? Was that bottom-up? How was that initiated from the CTO? Like, where did that occur, especially in large companies?
Well, there was a shift that they were going from Teradata and SAS to Google BigQuery. So all the data was going to have to be redone. And I think that the shift to a new department was because it hadn't worked with everyone doing all the business doing it on their own.
Yeah, I mean, our company exists because of our clients, right? Most of them are Blue Cross, Blue Shield, and they were screaming at us. right? You guys have to fix this. So this was very much a top-down, we have to do something. So we just decided as an organization, say, hey, we could have done whatever. We could have picked a new BI tool. We could have done whatever. We just said we're going to do a custom web interface. This is the one landing spot. We brought our team in strategically, say we're going to have one set of data, one governed metrics, and everyone is on board. So yeah, it was very much, I would say mostly top-down, but definitely was a full agreement with everyone hands in.
Yeah, the main thing probably was the survey results, seriously. I mean, it was just, it was bad. So we had to do something.
Right, and the honest part, like I've only been here 2 years in this company too, like PBMs, it's like, you don't get more customers, right? It's super odd, right? Retail or manufacturing, you can build more stuff, you sell more stuff. It's like you literally, these are your customers. It's super hard to get new ones.
And you lose one and it's a big deal.
Right. So it was, we had to listen and we changed, we adapted.
Yep.
So with all of the modernization work that you did, I'm just curious if you can speak to some of the challenges from like an upskilling perspective in your teams, like what was the process of learning DBT and adapting to all these new principles?
Well, all three of us had used DBT previously. For me personally, the biggest challenge was not knowing pharmacy data. It is so different, and Jessica was new to it as well. We have one other developer on our team who couldn't be here. She knows pharmacy data really well. She's been doing it her whole life, but she didn't know DBT. So it really was a pretty good mix. She caught on to DBT so quickly. I mean, I think if you're a developer, you can pick up DBT very easily. But just getting to know that pharmacy data is so different. It's just not what I've been used to. But we do have members on our team that we're always like, hey, you guys want to use DBT? And not everyone wants to jump into it, but we're kind of okay with that too, because it's really small and controlled, and we can keep track of what we're all doing. So, yep.
How many people did you typically have on your governance boards? And how broad was it? You know, you get a lot of people, and then it's harder.
Probably about 4 to 5.
Well, no, yeah, we probably like 8, and that's a great question. So we are very business siloed still. That's another thing I'm trying to shift in this company. So we're underneath the chief analytic officer, and you think that'd be the whole business. It isn't. So we're probably about 8 main business silos. We are doing it for our group, chief analytic officer, not the other 7 yet. So right now it's our team, and everyone's starting to now acclimate and liking what we're doing. So we will expand it to these other business areas, but right now it's to that level. To your point, we have to stabilize. This is all new this year, but we'll get there.
It was a lot of changes.
And it still is, like, we're still working through things.
Oh, I'm not. We don't have a governance board at my place right now, but a former company had one, and it was hard.
I thought it was going to be more red tape and make it harder. I don't think we would have gotten to where we are this fast without it. And like I said, how we're redoing things, without that, there would be so much more redo. And like, everyone would need their own report. We're really trying to get that core data that meets everyone's needs. So, we have our table with 200 fields in it, and another team comes in like, oh no, we need these 8 more. But we make it all work together for everyone.
I think the last thing I'll add, like the governance boards, what the huge part was having that buy-in of our chief analytic officer and our other chief data officer, because they really emphasized it. So all the teams, they bought in, and we did it. Because otherwise you'd have a bunch of different silos. I mean, yeah. Don't get me started.
Yeah, I think there's people coming in for
I
another
think we're over
session.
time.
But
Thank you for joining us.
Thanks a lot, you
everyone.
guys.
Thank you.